is ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello there, thanks for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News. I am Gift or Gete. In our major story, National Task Force on Illegal Importation of Small Arms and Light Weapons raises the alarm over 6,000 illegal borders currently being used to smuggle dangerous weapons into Nigeria. President Goodluck Jonathan vows to liberate all territories occupied by Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. INEC arrests 2 ad hoc staff over plot to rig 2015 general elections. And outside Nigeria, Western leaders rebuke Russia over its role in the Ukraine crisis at the ongoing G20 summit in Australia. Thanks for staying tuned with us. Now details of the headlines and other stories. Ahead of the 2015 general elections, the National Task Force on Illegal Importation of Small Arms and Light Weapons have raised the alarm over the increasing number of illegal borders currently being used to smuggle weapons into the country, which it said has hit 6,000. The organization said it was willing to partner security operatives in the country in protecting the borders across the country. The Director General of NATFORCE and former presidential candidate of African Liberation Party in the 2011 elections, Emmanuel Osita Okereke, expressed his concern during an interview with journalists in Abuja. While commenting on the current security challenges in the Northeast, he urged President Goodluck Jonathan to check the allegiance of his service chiefs and advisors following the attacks in the Northeast. He alleged that security chiefs and those advising Jonathan on security matters may have been sabotaging his efforts to wipe out terrorism in the area. President Goodluck Jonathan on Saturday said the federal government was determined to liberate all territories occupied by Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. Jonathan gave the assurance at the launch of the Presidential Initiative for the Northeast in Maiduguri, represented by the Minister of State for Power, Mohammed Wakil. Jonathan said government was in the process of deploying more troops and resources to ensure quick liberation of the occupied territories. He said government would unveil a Marshall Plan for the rehabilitation, reconstruction and redevelopment of the area soon after the insurgents had been dislodged. The president added that government had introduced numerous intervention programs to alleviate the sufferings of the people affected by the insurgency. He named some of them to include the Presidential Initiative for the Northeast, headed by the National Security Advisor, Sambo Dasuki, and the Presidential Committee on Distribution of Relief Materials, headed by NEMA Director General Malam Sani Seed, among others. The Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, and Catholic Archbishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Hassan Kuka, have stated that Nigeria would not disintegrate because of crises which are being anticipated during the 2015 general elections. According to them, Nigeria would remain united no matter the drums of war being beaten by some persons who do not wish the country well. They, however, called on Nigerians across ethnic and religious diversities to work together towards sustainable dialogue, reconciliation and peace. The Sultan, represented by the Andoma and of Doma in Nasarawa State, Ahmadu Aliyu and Kuka, stated this during a roundtable on rekindling the spirit and culture of voluntarism in Nigeria and public presentation of a book titled Peace and Reconciliation, a Nigerian Conversation, jointly organized by Kuka Center and the Department of Mission and Dialogue Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria. The monarch said, "The ordinary man in Nigeria loves his country. The ordinary man in Nigeria believes in the invisibility of his country. The ordinary man in Nigeria believes that Nigeria must remain one and united always." The national chairman of Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Atahiru Jega, has confirmed the arrest of 2 INEC ad hoc staff for carrying out a house-to-house registration of voters in Kano State. CoreTV News gathered that the arrest was carried out with the involvement of operatives of the Department of State Service, DSS, and the police in Kano. The resident electoral commissioner for Kano State also confirmed the arrest effected at the polling unit in Kabul area of the state. The 2 arrested individuals have, however, been granted bail. The Director General of the DSS, Ekpenyong Ita, was said to have alerted Jega, who confirmed the arrest and assured that the replacement for the 2 staff involved was already on. Jega insisted that the offenders would be prosecuted. The Accord Party is demanding a rerun of the August 9, 2014 governorship election that returned Ralph Aregbesola as the governor of Osun State. According to the party and its governorship candidate at the election, Ni Owolade, the poll was fraught with irregularities in all the 30 local government areas of the state, hence the call for a rerun. The petitioners presented photocopies of certified true copies of forms EC 8A series as exhibits before the tribunal over the weekend. Counsels to Governor Ralph Aregbesola and APC picked holes in the document presented by the Accord Party, but allowed the tribunal to accept them as exhibit in order to fast-track the
challenging
hearing.
the elections in all the 30 local governments. Ours is different. Ours is unique. Because I was going through, I saw the PDP's petition last week, and I realized that they were challenging 17 or something like that. Ours is the 30. And our own main prayer is that there should be a rerun.
What they have brought today is a photocopy of a certified copy. In the case of Yola Omishore and Aregbesola, which came up yesterday, they tendered the certified copy that had the original stamp of INEC. That is what the case of Owolade has now reproduced as a copy, which they are now tendering today. And we have noticed some manipulations. So upon which we are saying that this cannot be the certified copy of the original.
I can tell you without fear of contradiction that the Supreme Court has held in countless cases that the photocopy of a certified true copy is a photocopy of an authentic document. That objection, respectfully, does not have any merit.
Thank you. Your name, sir. Petition of the Accord Party against the victory of Aregbesola is being heard alongside that of the PDP and its governorship candidate, Yola Omishore. You're watching CoreTV Prime Time News Weekend Edition. Judge orders OAU authorities students to settle rift over rustication out of court. Find out more after this time out. Stay with us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. my former students.
Happy birthday.
Every day, life is made better by the moments of surprise we create for others and for ourselves. Be better. Surprise someone this season and make sure to text 11 to 400 to get a surprise from MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes and bleeding from the eyes, ears and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Nigerians are expected to seek out the best words to describe the activity.
The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa.
Presidential
we break the news. Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News,
a 24-hour news station. You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV. Leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. It's CoreTV Primetime News. If you've just joined us, a recap of our major stories. National Task Force on Illegal Importation of Small Arms and Light Weapons raises the alarm. Over 6,000 illegal borders currently being used to smuggle dangerous weapons into Nigeria. President Goodluck Jonathan vows to liberate all territories occupied by Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. INEC arrests 2 ad hoc staff over plot to rig 2015 general elections. Remember that you can also catch us on our social media platform. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTVNews. On Twitter at CoreTVNewsNG. And on YouTube, it's youtube.com/CoreTV_news. A federal high court in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, hearing the case instituted against the management of the Obafemi Awolowo University, has directed the school to settle out of court with the rusticated students. The students had challenged what they termed illegal rustication by the school in court. Meanwhile, counsel to the university had before the other told the court that the school did not rusticate the student. Rashid encounters the counsels on the directive and filed in this report.
Great effect, great, I love you. There's only one great effect in the universe.
That's the mood at the Federal High Court sitting in Osogbo when the case involving the management of the Obafemi Awolowo University and the students came up for hearing during the week. Olajuwon and other 8 students had dragged the school authority before the court for illegal rustication over their participation in a protest. Justice Babs Kuewumi directed the matter to be settled out of court. The police also denied ever investigating the students, while the school authorities denied rusticating Juwon and the 8 others in the first place.
There was no time they investigated Sanyaolu Olajuwon. The counsel to the university authority in Viva Voce said there was no time the applicant, that's Sanyaolu Olajuwon, was sent away from school. The court, as a parent, advised that the matter be resolved among parties.
The case of the student is being looked into, and the position of the court and of the council is that we should resolve this matter out of court.
In making sure all parties see to the settlement within a reasonable period of time, the court ordered that the settlement report be brought to its notice as the school speaks on its demand from the affected students.
The court directed that we should come back on the 4th of December 2014 to report settlement, possibly to withdraw the processes and have the case struck out, or to report to the court the situation of whatever discourse we have engaged in.
We are hoping that the two parties cooperating together, this matter should be resolved out of court. And we are coming back to report the out-of-court settlement at the next adjourned date. So we are asking for an undertaking for good behavior. It's as simple as that.
One of the affected students, Sanyaolu, speaks on his expectation from the school authorities.
As long as I'm back on campus, and the management does not continue in its act of, witch-hunting students, activists, no more. So there's no issue with that.
Many are already looking out to the out-of-court settlement to bring in the desired relief. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogbo.
The recent revelation by Nigeria's oil sector managers that about 80% of the nation's oil pipeline have been vandalized is worrying even to the average Nigerian. The development has resulted in rise in the costs of oil theft and illegal bunkering in the country, especially in the Niger Delta, Nigeria's oil production base. The oil theft has continued unabated despite efforts by the federal government to curb the activities of oil pipeline vandals and their cohorts. Omotayo Alo and this special reports takes a look at the implosion of the criminal activities and the attendant effect on the Nigerian economy, as well as the overall development of the country. The report.
We need to diversify our economy. One of the key issues is that we cannot continue to be, and we keep on saying all the time, a monoproduct economy. There's need for us to look at other sources of revenue. Be that as is may, I believe that also we need to have the political will to confront head-on some of these abuses and some of this sabotage and some of this stuff that is going on.
This security alert by the Chairman Senate Committee on the Environment and Ecology, Bukola Saraki, leaves much to be desired, especially as it concerns the far-reaching damaging effects of oil theft, an illicit trade that involves the theft of crude oil and its derivative products through a variety of different mechanisms with significant economic, social, environmental, governance and security implications, and contributed immensely to the poverty, was recently confronted by the Nigerian Navy at the Majidun waterways in the Ikorodu area of Lagos. The community is enmeshed in extreme poverty, depicting the poor standard of living of its people. But there appears more to this, as the look of the environment tends to shield the activities of the perpetrators from the prying eyes of security agents. For this retired Nigerian colonel, the theft of oil would continue unabated if the poor are being relegated to the background. He added that Nigeria will continue to be economically vulnerable until it pays more attention to other resources outside oil.
So long as there are no other sources and the officially gathered funds from the oil cannot be properly shared, there will be stealing of oil. We cannot deceive ourselves. People will beat it. People will die on it. People will smuggle. So long as we are depending on that mono product as a means of our sustenance. But if we diversify, then there will be less pressure on the oil and stealing, theft will reduce.
Illegal practitioner Malaki Ugwomadu says corruption in high places has hampered the fight against oil thieves.
It is not their responsibility to get a few scapegoats just so that you give the signal to people who may be tempted to go into that by effectively prosecuting those who are culpable and those who have been arrested for oil theft.
Recently, after successfully intercepting over 2,050-litre containers containing oil products on the Majidun waterways and its surrounding creeks, the flag officer commanding of the Nigerian Navy Western Naval Command, Somi Alade, says oil thieves cannot be identified except they are caught and made to reveal their accomplice.
We need more resources so that we can procure more seagoing platforms, then we can procure more weapons. Then we can also procure all other, items, relating to our operations, at sea.
Before the interception of the Navy, CoreTV News gathered that thousands of tons of oil are spirited away daily in the last 10 years without anyone batting an eyelid. Apart from the activities sabotaging the economy and putting public finance in jeopardy, the aquatic life of the community has been destroyed while security of residents in the areas hosting the illegal businesses is under serious threat. However, some Nigerians believe there can't be a smoke without fire and called on government to take a step further by probing oil industry experts who are involved in the dirty business. The worry for them is the vandals could not have developed the expertise to vandalism of oil pipelines without internal connivance. Omota Yualo, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The street kids phenomenon is increasingly attracting attention worldwide. In Nigeria, the case is not different, except that the attention it's attracting is less driven by government, thus leaving the major part to unscrupulous bodies in the name of non-governmental organization with selfish interest. Correspondent Pius Samuel recently went in search of street kids in Nasarawa State and returned with this very disturbing tales.
These children are in Lafia all the way from some communities in Katsina State. They have traveled thousands of kilometers, supposedly in search of knowledge. But they are on the streets hanging around restaurants to pick the leftovers of customers' meals. Looking so sick, this 9-year-old boy says he has not eaten for hours. He says his parents brought him from Katsina, but he hasn't seen them in the last 4 months. The only thing he knows is the Quranic education, and that is why his parents brought him to Lafia.
I have spent 4 months in Almajiri school. My parents brought me here to study. I was not brought here to study Western education. We get food sometime when we go out, and we reserve some with our teachers.
In spite of fending for themselves, they are still clearly kids. With toy guns in their hands, they play cops and robbers. But on Thursdays and Fridays, these boys leave the local Almajiri school to go in search for food and money. Most times, they get little or nothing to fall back on.
When we go out, we get money. We kept some and use some. If anyone is sick among us, we use the money to get drugs. We don't go out every day. We go to our teacher's farm and help him to work. We don't attend the school built by the government because we were brought here to attend the local Almajiri school.
The locals here are not happy with the Almajiri situation. They say Boko Haram elements could easily take advantage of the boys.
The issue of Almajiri, when we are talking about Almajiri in Islam, Islam does not encourage Almajiri at all. Almajiri has no place in Islam. Islam encourages every person to wake up, work hard, earn your living. It is not ideal for you to get back to children and you scatter them in the street with the name of begging. Islam does not encourage that.
We are not encouraging Almajiri group. This is the sources of Boko Haram initiate. we are not welcoming Al-Majiri. It's not an Islamic culture. It's not an Islamic foundation. Anybody promoting Al-Majiri sector is not an Islamic sector.
Oh, Al-Majiri, this something of Al-Majiri. You know, leaving those children walking about is not in the best interest of Islamic. Because moving around will cause so many problems. You know, people have started to use them. That is what is causing the problem. You know, they are one of the key suspects in this Boko Haram something. People say they are using Al-Majiri and they are condemning Al-Majiri. Why? Because people use them.
Only recently, the federal government established a school for Al-Majiris in several states, including Nasarawa. This is the school, but it is now home to internally displaced persons from Taraba State. So, for now, these children will continue to be on the streets until something is done by the relevant authorities.
These children have to go out every day in search of their daily bread. For this 9-year-old, he has not eaten anything since morning. As you can see, his plate is totally empty. And for him, the future doesn't really hold much. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Lafia.
You're watching CoreTV News. We take another break and return with business, sports and stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Professor.
My former students.
Happy birthday.
Every day, life is made better by the moments of surprise we create for others and for ourselves. Be better. Surprise someone this season and make sure to text 11 to 400 to get a surprise from MTN. MTN, everywhere you go.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes and bleeding from the eyes, ears and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Welcome you to From the Ivory Tower. On happenings around the country, varsity teachers get to air their views. Students are actually not left out. We bring you intellectual ends from the events happening around you. It is dedicated to educating the populace with a spice of entertainment.
From the Ivory Tower, Tuesdays, only on CoreTV News.
Welcome back. Now to business. Nigeria's interbank lending rate spiked 287 basis points to 10.87% after the central bank mopped up liquidity via treasury bill sales to ward off pressure on the naira. The bank sold over 200 billion naira worth of open market bills all through the week, curbing liquidity in the market to drive up interbank rates. The Nigerian bond sale off spurred by weaker global oil prices and a weaker naira is expected to continue next week. Yields on Nigeria bonds climbed across the board this week, driven higher by selling pressure from some offshore investors. The Naira has been slipping for the past 3 weeks, weakened by declines in global oil prices and low inflows of hard currency into Nigeria's debt and equity markets. Central Bank has stepped up its support for the Naira in a bid to stem its rapid depreciation. Yields on the benchmark 2024 bond rose 49 basis points to 13.18% from 12.69% last week. The 2022 debt note closed at 13.23% compared with 12.60% last week, while the 2016 traded at 13 points. And now to Nigeria's stock market. For the third session this week, the equities transaction on the floor of the exchange closed on a positive note, with the all-share index rising by 1.6% to close at 34,515.47 basis points. The all-shares index had risen by 296.73 basis points. The turnover for the last 5 days is 1.850 billion shares, worth 30,863 billion naira in 27,397 deals traded this week by investors on the floor of the exchange, in contrast to a total of 3,778 billion shares valued at 26.740 billion naira that exchanged hands last week in 22,771 deals. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Omar Ibrahim of the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation (NDIC) says it has declared 100% dividends to investors of 14 closed deposit money banks as of December 2013. The corporation also paid liquidation dividend, which stood at 2.03 billion naira to 453 shareholders of Alpha, Pan-African and Nigeria Merchant Banks at August 31st, 2014. And now to sports. Second half goals by Ikechukwu Uche and Aaron Samuel against Congo on Saturday have kept African champions Nigeria alive in the AFCON 2015 qualifiers. The win in Congo means Nigeria are now second in Group A with 7 points ahead of Congo, who also have 7 points but are third on the head-to-head states. And if beat group leaders South Africa in Uyo on Wednesday, they will then finish behind Bafana and qualify automatically for Equatorial Guinea 2015. Villarreal striker Uche celebrated his long-awaited return to the Super Eagles in style when in 59th minute he tucked away a penalty after Congo goalkeeper Massa fouled goal-bound Emmanuel Emenike. Greece have sacked Claudio Ranieri after a home defeat to the Faroe Islands, and Giovanni Trapattoni could take over. The Euro 2014 winners have scraped 1 point in 4 Euro 2016 qualifiers under Ranieri, scoring 1 goal and conceding 5, culminating in last night's historic 1-0 loss. There are now reports ex-Italy and Republic of Ireland manager Trapattoni will replace Ranieri at the helm. It was the first Faroe Islands victory since 2011, and 63-year-old Ranieri admitted to being flabbergasted. Roberto Mancini has admitted he is as surprised as anyone over his return to coach Inter, and says he has everything to lose 6 years after leaving the club. The 49-year-old won 3 successive Series A titles in his first spell at San Siro, but was sacked by former Nerazzurri president Massimo Moratti in 2008, following an indifferent start to the 2014-2015 campaign. interparted company with Walter Mazzari on Friday, paving the way for Mancini's appointment. At the press conference on Saturday, the Italian revealed his delight at returning to his homeland after a successful spell at Manchester City was followed by a disappointing stint in Turkey with Galatasaray. Novak Djokovic saw off Japan's Kei Nishikori in 3 sets to reach the final of the ATP World Tour Finals. The world #1, chasing a 3rd straight season-ending title, came through 6-1, 3-6, 6-0 at the O2 Arena. Djokovic recovered his form superbly after reacting badly when the crowd at the O2 Arena in London applauded a double fault in the 2nd set. The Serb will face Roger Ferrari or Stan Wawrinka. The brilliant forehand winner slapped cross-court brought up match point, and Nishikori ended an impressive ATP Finals debut with a double fault. And now to story outside Nigeria. Various Western leaders have rebuked Russia over its role in the Ukraine crisis at the ongoing G20 summit in Australia. Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper told Russian President Vladimir Putin that he needed to get out of Ukraine. U.S. President Barack Obama says Moscow's aggression in Ukraine was a threat to the world, while the UK threatened more sanctions unless Russia stopped destabilizing its neighbor. The 2-day summit in Brisbane is focusing on promoting economic growth. World leaders are expected to elaborate on plans agreed by G20 finance ministers in February to boost global growth by 2 in 5 years. However, Saturday, the first of the 2-day summit, was dominated by Ukraine, where pro-Russian separatists have been fighting government forces in eastern regions. Ukraine and its Western allies have accused Russia of sending military forces across the border, something Kremlin denies. The EU imposed sanctions when Russia annexed Crimea in March and has added further measures since. If President Putin expected a warm diplomatic welcome at G20 under the blazing Brisbane sun, he was disappointed. He was in fact subjected to something more akin to a severe Siberian winter. The West believes Russia is behind the escalation of tension in eastern Ukraine, a conflict that has already cost 4,000 lives. And just before we go, a recap of our major headlines. We told you that the National Task Force on Illegal Importation of Small Arms and Light Weapons has raised the alarm over 6,000 illegal borders currently being used to smuggle dangerous weapons into Nigeria. We also brought you a report that President Goodluck Jonathan has vowed to liberate all territories occupied by Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. And lastly, we told you that INEC has arrested 2 ad hoc staff over plot to rig 2015 general elections. And that's our show for tonight. On behalf of the crew, I am Gift Ogeta, wishing you a wonderful night rest. Good night.